Here's left. Pulls up, looking for the lead, and he got it. Jalen Williams, 2 seconds, 1:11, 1:09. Now SGA, probing, piercing, spinning, hanging for the lead, and SGA knocks it down. The Thunder finally get the defensive stop, and SGA puts them in front.
I'm Kenrich Williams. You're listening to Topic Thunder.
And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Topic Thunder podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Hunsinger at Thunder Chats. We're part of the Believe Network, and this podcast brought to you by the good folks at FanDuel Sportsbook. With me today is my co-host, my compatriot, my compadre, Alex Roy. How we doing, sir?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Just waiting for that Case and Wallace tweet to hit. And once that hits, yes, we need that. Once that hits, I think we're good for the off season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, kind of teeing it off. You know, like the last few weeks, literally, like I think the last month has been nothing but NBA draft. Like, who are we going to draft? Who did we draft? What does it mean that we drafted them? And you know, there's still plenty of questions on that. There's still plenty to cover on that. You know, Summer League for Utah is starting up on the 4th of July, this Saturday. Also, you know, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luguentz Dort are going to be representing Team Canada and the FIBA qualifiers. I think
not on the team.
He's not on the team. He's at the training camp.
Well, he wasn't on the roster.
Yeah, he was on the initial one. I don't know. I wonder if that was like a. I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens ultimately, but I think they're playing like 3 games for like a qualifier thing anyways, but that starts on Friday. But we are going to talk about all the action that's going around the NBA. Alex and Cone came on after the postseason press conference with Sam Presti on Friday. They talked about, you know, all of his comments, his takeaways, and, you know, Isaiah Joe trade.
Press conference.
The what? Oh, the rookie and projection. I'm sorry. Yes, they are very different things.
Postseason. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a little bit longer ago.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, we are back. We're going to talk about first and foremost, I mean, Isaiah Hartenstein. I think it was Saturday. So you guys podcasted on Friday. So Saturday, the news came out that Isaiah Hartenstein is returning to the Oklahoma City Thunder on
Friday.
It was Friday that it happened? Friday night? Like after the podcast? Okay.
Yep.
I knew it was quickly after the podcast.
I know because I was still working. So
yeah.
I don't work on Saturdays and Sundays. So yeah, I was still working. It was late at night. So yeah, it was on Friday.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, hey, just fact checking. All right. Anyways, Isaiah Hartenstein is back with the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's on a 3-year deal, $75 million deal, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't think that it's been confirmed by anybody else, but Keith Smith came out and said that he's pretty sure it's flat, like 25 deal, because he didn't think that it would be descending because there's a trade kicker, and he didn't think that it would be front loaded because of, you know, dodging the second apron or whatever. So he said that his understanding is a flat 25. I mean, takeaways, man, obviously, like, we are thrilled to have Isaiah Hartenstein back. He was such a huge part to the team offensively and defensively last year. I mean, what do you think of this contract, Alex?
I thought it was a great contract. I thought this was the contract that, again, whenever you have a team constructed like this where everybody wants to get paid because they've put in their work to get paid, you do want some, you know, you do want people to take, you know, little pay cuts here or there, you know, that type of stuff. Not anything too drastic, but not anything to where, like, you know, for instance, Dub and Chet, like, knowing that they were coming up off of like all NBA type seasons, but then also knowing that, for instance, Dub was coming off of an injury, off of a surgery that he knew he was probably going to miss the amount of games that he wouldn't get the thing, but he still put that in the contract just in case he came back earlier and got that. And then same thing with Chet, because of his injury history, they probably took that off, and that was probably the one negotiating, you know, thing that they were, you know, kind of stuck on. But outside of that, you know, those are the types of things that, those are the type of sacrifices that these players need to make. And so Isaiah Hartenstein coming back on a $25 million, you know, average annual salary for the next 3 years, that is also, you know, a type of sacrifice as far as like going from 28.5, you know, 30 28.5 and now down to 25, where he's still getting paid probably more than possibly make in the open market, but it's very competitive to what he would be making in the open market. And so it gives him that leverage as far as like, having a good deal to stay on this team, which is a championship contending team. And then with that said, on the team aspect of it, it's a very movable deal. Like, this is a type of salary that can be moved to another team because, again, Hartenstein has a lot of use within this league. That archetype of player has a lot of use within this league. And so any team would love to have Hartenstein on their squad. And so having the ability, the optionality to be able to move this deal if need be, or if Mara or Sorber kind of show out and they say, okay, these guys are, this guy is ready to take over those minutes, heading into the new season, then that deal becomes very easy to move. And so on both parts, both parties, they probably got what they wanted, from this deal. And it's a 3-year deal with the third year being a player option and a 15% trade kicker. So, Hartenstein's going to get his, if he gets traded, he's going to get, extra money along with it. And so it becomes something that's very beneficial to both the player and to the team whenever it comes to that time, if it comes to that time.
Now, and when it comes to like the capology of it all and the NBA cap room and everything, like you and Dolan are definitely like our experts here. So I wanted to ask you this because I was curious, and I feel like other fans are curious as well. You hear trade kicker thrown around, like that type of jargon, but I don't think people like fully understand what it is. You said 50% trade kicker, so obviously that money's going to Isaiah Hartenstein. My question is, A, is that money that we have to pay if we trade them? It is us? Okay.
So it is us. It is added to the salary.
So does it go against the cap is what I'm trying to say.
It does, yes. It does.
Okay, so it does. Okay. So I didn't know if that was something where it's just like, kind of like cash considerations type thing where like, you get this money since we traded you, but it doesn't affect our cap at all. But okay. Glad we know that now.
It's sacrificing on both ends. Like, because the Thunder make this, they make this deal, they do this negotiations, knowing that if in the end they do trade Hartenstein, even if you're trading him into space, you're still going to have to trade. You're still going to have to pay out a certain percentage of that, which is 15%. So you still have to pay that, and so they know that. They know that going into it.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, that could be something that is negotiated between you and the future team on maybe they pay part of that.
I mean, I guess
kind of like
guess maybe they could send it. They could send you money. They could send you cash back within the trade itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be on your books regardless. Like, it's not like, they could send money back, but that money is still going to be on your books.
Okay. That's true.
It's still going to be on your books.
Yeah. So, I mean, everything you were saying, I mean, obviously with like Mara or Sorber, like you have 2 chances for one of these guys to hit, to show you something, to really splash, to really flash. And I think if that happens, then, trading IHart makes sense for all parties involved, because that is a way that you get cheaper. Maybe not initially, because as we said, you still have to pay up to trade IHart, but at the same time you have guys on rookie contract in that spot going forward instead of having to pay IHart's contract. So kind of save a little bit of money there. But what I want to talk about is this is such a huge win for the Thunder in the fact that this is the guy who was the biggest free agent signing in Thunder history. He chose to come to Oklahoma City to contend for a championship. I don't know where he left. I don't think people understand. He left New York City to come to Oklahoma City. And, he got paid for it, but he willingly did that. He entrenched himself in this community. And not only did he choose to come here one time, he chose to sign an extension to stay here. That's huge for free agents. This is a guy that is, one of the best centers in the NBA. Dare I say top 10-ish, something like that. Obviously, his role is, more important than, what he does positionally for this team specifically. But the fact that he is choosing to stay in Oklahoma City is huge for free agents going forward. Same thing with whenever Paul George, choose to re-up after coming here. Obviously, he was traded, but that's part of the negotiation. Like that was the handshake agreement. Like, hey, come here, and if it doesn't work out, we'll take care of you. And that's kind of been the history of Sam Presti. Anytime that he sends guys out, he usually sends them if they've scratched your back, he'll scratch your back type thing. So he'll send you to a good situation, like Aaron Wiggins, like Isaiah Joe. They are going to Eastern Conference contenders at this point. So yeah, shout out to iHart. Very pleased to have him back. And let's run it back, man. Let's kill it. And also, with Mara, with Sorber. And, there's all this conversation about the Thunder not taking any wings, any forwards or anything like that. It feels like the Thunder just committed to being double big lineup at all times because you have 5 guys that, could be on the floor at any given moment, any combination of those players. So it will be fun to see, as we, go back out there this season. So other thing, did you have anything else you wanted to add on iHart?
No. I mean, again, it's beneficial. It's contractually beneficial to both parties. So it was, once again, it's a Presti kind of stroke of genius as far as what he does with negotiations and what he does with the player relationship part of this, of this equation that, not many GMs, not many have that to where that relationship with the players helps you to not only, make these types of deals initially, like the initial signing, but then also the re-up and also the expectation of the reality of the situation, saying that, hey, it's a 3-year deal, but within that time you can get, we could trade you. And so this is the extra kind of sweetener in there, the trade kicker, so that you and your, representation can be good moving forward with it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it, a lot of it is the relationship, not just with the player, but with the agents. And so, those types of sweeteners, especially for those types of veterans, those 7, 8, 9 year veterans, like those are the types of things that those agents look for. And those are the types of things that those agents remember when it comes to other players in the future. Yeah.
And as we know, thanks to Sean's reporting, Aaron Mintz is Isaiah Hartenstein's agent, as was, put in the announcement tweet. So shout out Sean for that. Also happened in the past couple of days. Actually, this happened, this was yesterday, right? Yeah, yesterday. Luguentz Dort had his team option exercised by the Oklahoma City Thunder for $17.7 million. I've seen a lot of reactions to this, both positively, negatively, and confusion, neutral, whatever. I will just go ahead and say, so I've kind of talked this out a little bit on my TikTok. Follow me on TikTok at Thunder Chats. Shout out for that. But basically there were 3 options with Lu Dort this offseason. One was to let him walk for nothing, and that was just Sam Presti was never going to do that. He was never just going to. Yeah, no, he was not going to let him walk for nothing whenever he could get in something. He got 2 seconds for Isaiah Joe, 2 seconds for Aaron Wiggins. He very well could get 2 seconds for Lu Dort. We don't know, but if you let him walk, we wasn't getting 2 seconds. Anyways, the next thing would be to sign him to a long-term deal. And shout out Justin Martinez. He kind of put out an article yesterday morning before everything came out there. He was one of the first on the scene to say that he was probably opting into his team option. He said that, while they are bringing him back on the team option, a long-term deal would just not in the cards. It is not likely for that to happen. So this is kind of the last shot for Luguentz Dort, I guess, with the Thunder. And then the last thing is the team option. Just exercise the team option. And I think that was always the most likely one. Everybody was talking about trade. In order for you to be able to trade Lu Dort, you have to have him under contract. So it was either going to be a long-term deal. It was either going to be a team option. It was a team option. I think that this gives you the most time. This is, if anything else, this bides time for Sam Presti to find a deal, work out a deal. Again, you have the asset now. So it's not impossible that Lu Dort is still on this team, once the season starts, but based on how everything's kind of going, I'm still leaning towards he gets traded. What's your thoughts on all this, Alex?
Yeah, I still think I do think that the option of picking up the option and then having that extra bit of time throughout the offseason to kind of make a decision where to send him and just kind of let the chessboard kind of play itself out. It's kind of like the draft where, I'm pretty sure the Thunder had a draft board and then they had a group of players that they were okay with drafting with the 12th pick if they became available. Obviously, Adai was there. He was probably one of the guys that's on their board. And so it's the same thing when it comes to free agency. These first couple of days of free agency, this is usually when like 85 to 90% of everything happens, from now to the moratorium, which is July 6th. And then from there is where the news gets kind of slow as far as like, trades, as far as free agent signings, because from that point on, the money kind of runs out pretty quickly. And so from there, teams have to, make their decisions that they make based off of the money that they have left, or at the, the exceptions that they have left and things like that. And so I think the Lakers, for instance, do have some cap space, especially with LeBron leaving, Kennard leaving, seemingly Hachimura leaving, Marcus Smart, all those players leaving. And so that opens up pretty good amount of salary cap space. And so if they wanted to absorb Lou Dort, they could, but they're also in the market for a center. They're also in the market for Kessler, Walker Kessler. They're also in the market for, I believe it's Sandro Mamushvili.
I think I saw Mark Stein said that Mamu and Quentin Grimes are committed to the Lakers while they're also pursuing.
So they have money. They can get multiple players, so they're probably going to use that money as far as they can. But if it gets to a point where like those players that they really want, that they really covet, end up signing with other teams, at that point, then the Lakers can be like, hey, let's talk about Lou Dort. Let's talk about what it'll take to get him, to LA. Because the thing is, a high percentage of that team, high percentage of that rotation that was there during the playoffs is no longer on that team. So if you're trying to build for a team for Luka and for Austin Reeves, you're going to need number one defensive players. You're going to need shooters. And so those are the types of players they're going to be looking for. And Lou Dort fits into that mold. And so, yeah, I do think there is that possibility where Lou Dort is on the roster to begin the season and plays on the team to begin the season, to begin the year, even, all the way to to the midway point of the season, which is around February. But I do think for salary cap purposes and for staying out of the second apron, I do believe that he will eventually, he is the sacrificial lamb, the sacrificial salary that will get dumped. And so, it will happen. More than likely it will happen. I don't think this team wants to start the clock on the second apron timeline until next season, because after this season, it's going to be very difficult to stay out of the second apron. We'll literally have $148 million accredited to just three players, which are your core three. And then after that, you have the rest of your players. So you're going to be in the second apron regardless. It's going to be very difficult to stay out of the second apron next offseason. And so they want to go ahead and keep it under the second apron this year, so that those multiple years in the second apron don't start to affect their draft picks in like 2034, 2035, those types of seasons where probably at that point you are back to rebuilding. Usually these types of runs don't stay on too long, and so you're back to rebuilding during that time. And so you want your draft picks during that time. So, you want to give yourself time. And so, that's where we're at right now.
Oh, okay. Sorry if I got a random notification, freaked me out. Anyways, yeah, I kind of wanted to ask you about that because, you talk about getting under the second apron, and I've seen, again, like this is a question I had. I think it might be a question other people have had about the second apron, in terms of like when you have to be under it to count against you. Obviously, so like, the league fiscal year starts on July 1st, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have to be under by this July 1st, or do you have to be under by next July 1st?
So the thing is, based off of what you have on your team, like we were already operating as a second apron team. And so that's the reason why, for instance, Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe, we couldn't trade them together. We couldn't aggregate those two players in a trade. So we had to trade them separately. Because we were operating as a second apron team. And so the league kind of, it's not a like a shadow market where like, oh, these players, are, they have options. And so like, they don't count against your, no, the NBA looks at those players regardless of whether they're on the team option, even if they're free agents. If they're free agents, they still have a cap hold. And so, those still count in your salary for the next season coming up. And so that's the reason why we were still operating as a second apron team once the season ended, as far as like the finals. Once the finals ended, we were operating as a second apron team.
Okay, so if we don't trade Lou against Dort by July 1st, we will be second apron team like
July 1st. You're talking about like this July 1st?
Yeah, like 2 days from now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're already a second apron team now.
Okay.
Again, yeah. Regardless of when we trade him, whether we trade him tonight or whether we trade him after July 1st, it still counts for this NBA. I look at it like when you, at my job, you know, you have a fiscal year, fiscal year 26, and we're moving over to fiscal year 27. It's the same thing with the NBA. Fiscal year 27 begins July 1st. Fiscal year 26 ends June 30th. And so, but regardless of that, the NBA, in order to avoid shenanigans, they basically say, hey, when the season ends, as far as like the finals, whatever your cap sheet looks like heading into the next season, even with all the holds and with all the options, you're going to operate under that number, not the number of getting rid of all those things.
Okay. I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that being said, you kind of mentioned the Lakers as a destination for Lou Dort, and obviously, like, that's been reported, like, the interest of the Lakers in Lou Dort. I question, Dean Wade went to the Sixers. Bummer for the Cavs. I question if Presti would trade, like, a key piece to a Western Conference team that you can meet in the playoffs, specifically Lou Dort, because he would have to guard Shea in the playoffs. And I was kind of like, I was talking to Jerry earlier, and we was talking about like, Presti's deals and like, where they go to. And like, you look at Isaiah Joe, Pistons, Wiggins, Hawks, Ousmane Dieng, Bucks, even like Trey Mann, Poku, and all them went to the Hornets. Like, it feels like he ships them out of conference. The only time that, Jerry pointed out, like Steven Adams, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, is like, yeah, we was going into rebuild. We wasn't worried about meeting them in the playoffs at that point. So I question if he would trade them to the Lakers. Now, I mean, could the Lakers entice us enough to make that happen? Sure. But the team that I've been circling is the Charlotte Hornets, just because, they are – I mean, first of all, I love what the Hornets are doing. I love the idea of this new look Hornets team. It's not a complete vision, obviously. Like, they still need some playmaking. They still need some ball handling. I would love for them to find a way to get Scoot Henderson, since Portland decided to have 6 point guards at this point. I think that would be awesome.
What is going on there?
But that's besides the point. Like, they need defense. Like, Brandon Miller, Con Knippel are not defenders. Much like Luka and Austin Reeves.
Kobe White. Not a defender. No,
absolutely not. So Lou Dort comes in. He's a defender. He's a guy that can also be a culture setter. Like, you have done a good job of getting rid of, Miles Bridges, LaMelo Ball. Let's just be honest. Those guys aren't great for your culture, based on, what we've seen off the court and whatnot. So you bring in Lou Dort, a guy to establish a winning culture, a guy to establish, like, effort, hustle, motor, drive, resilience. Like, a guy that was undrafted to NBA champion. Like, it's not a hard
pedigree.
Yeah, it's not a hard selling point. And also, with that LaMelo Ball trade and the Miles Bridges trade, the Hornets have pretty large trade exceptions to just be able to bring Lou Dort into it. And what the return is, I don't know. But in terms of like a team that I could see going for Dort is the Hornets. Another team, we talk about Team Canada and Team Canada ties. Is it Fernandez?
Jordy Fernandez.
Jordy Fernandez is the head coach for the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, they're going under a change. They just drafted Darius Acuff. Michael Porter Jr. is back. That's the Kings. Sorry, Mikael Brown. Sorry, brother. I took a week off and my brain just shut down.
Jeez.
Anyways, Mikael Brown, Michael Porter Jr., Julius Randle, like, they have some interesting players. It looks like, they're trying to obviously not make it into the playoffs, but, try to establish a winning culture like we're talking about. Michael Porter Jr., Julius Randle, probably not the best players to have in that regard, but that's why you bring in a guy like Lou Dort, to kind of set the tone and establish that culture. And once again, like, you have plenty of cap space to bring in a guy like him. And there's a hole on your team when it comes to like a lockdown defender. I think What? I saw they signed Keon Ellis, but like they're different types of defenders. Keon Ellis is a good guard defender. Dort is a guy that can rough up forwards as well. So
yeah, Keon Ellis is probably more similar to like Case and Wallace than he would be Lou Dort.
Yeah, and honestly, he's not as strong as Case and Wallace either. So yeah, it's I think that there's gonna be plenty of options on the table. It's just
the dust has to settle.
And where does Lou want to go? I think that's another thing that Presti is going to try to take into consideration. That's why I think the Nets are like a real option, with Jordy Fernandez being the head coach and him really loving Lou Dort's play style. Before the Kawhi trade that happened today, I was thinking, is there a way to get Lou Dort to the Raptors? Like, they have no ball handling, but why not? Just throw another defensive wing out there. But after the Kawhi trade, I don't think that's happening.
No, that's true. Yeah, I mean, look, the market is going to be there eventually. Like, again, the dust has to settle. You have to allow these first couple of days of free agency to kind of run their course. The money has to be given out. And then from that point on, those teams like Charlotte, like Washington, like Brooklyn, those are the teams like, you look at Washington, their front office for the most part is Oklahoma City front office. And so if they look at their squad and they look at their team they're wanting to move forward with this team now, with Anthony Davis still in tow. We don't know what's going to happen with him as far as like going to Golden State, but you have Trae Young. You gave Trae Young that huge extension. You have Sarr, you have Koulibaly, you have who they pick up this year.
Debansa.
Debansa, yeah, AJ Debansa. So you have these players that are all coming in together. Why not a Lou Dort out there for defensive purposes to set the tone and kind of establish, like, AJ Debansa is probably not going to be a defensive stalwart. He's probably going to be more of your scorer. Trae Young, we know the issues that he had in Atlanta. And so bringing somebody in like Lou Dort for that team would make 100% sense also. Like,
yeah.
So there's going to be options. There's going to be plenty of options. And it's going to be a waiting game as far as, it's not going to happen today or tomorrow probably, but probably, within the week, we should probably see where the availabilities are and, start to kind of like piece together, hey, he's probably going to go there. He's probably going to go there.
I do want to give a shout out. He's a listener of the show, and also, he's everywhere on Twitter. I think it's Ali Karamazov, I think's his name. It's not his real name, but that's his @ But he pointed out that you can, in a trade for Lou Dort, you can bring back a player that has like a $10 million salary and still be under the second apron. So it doesn't have to be like a sunk cost kind of thing like Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, just bring in second round picks and, not have to take back salary. You could take back a little bit of salary with Lou Dort if you wanted to get a player. So a Lou Dort block Koulibaly.
Hey,
Presti would love it. Presti was trying.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, Koulibaly's coming up on his extension here soon, and so like they may not want to deal with that. They may have a couple of max contracts on their books already, and so it may be a situation a lot like, coming from the Thunder front office. You never want to let an asset kind of time out, and so Koulibaly. Now is the time where, like, you probably, if you're the Thunder, you would trade him if he's not going to be a part of your future, or you're not willing to pay a whole bunch of money. And so, same thing with Washington. They may be there also when it comes to Koulibaly.
And I mean, we can circle back to Kenny, but I think this is a nice transition into the Kaysen talk. Say you were to acquire Bilal Koulibaly, and he took a reduced role, stripped down like offensively, scaled down offensively, but like just really honed in defensively, and like he becomes that like defensive athletic stopper. Case and Wallace say that you don't extend him in the offseason. You just ride the team option and like, hey, we'll take our chances to restrict your free agency. If you deserve that, we'll pay it. If not, then we'll let somebody else get it. Somebody offers him like 30-35 million in free agency. Like, we're not willing to do that. We have to pay Isaiah Hartenstein. Morris Orber's not ready yet. You let Kaysen walk and you pay Bilal Koulibaly a little bit less. I'm not saying that's what happens. I think Kaysen is clearly a better player than Bilal Koulibaly at this point in time. But, there's optionality in that. But anyways, let's kind of transition into the Kaysen Wallace talk, because, that is, as our guy right here in the chat, what is that? Weight Heights. I don't know. It says, why is Dort still on the team? And why am I hearing that we can't get a contract worked out with Kaysen this summer? I just got to say, man, I've never thought so many NBA fans would like circle around a tabloid when it comes to NBA news. Like, Brett Siegel, Jake Fisher, like they have the rumor mill down. Like Mark Stein, they have the rumor mill down. Like that's completely different. That is literally reporting what they're hearing, just for content's sake. You shouldn't listen to a tabloid about anything, like let alone basketball coverage. Yeah. But I mean, people are taking the New York Post as gospel, and it's very annoying. The New York Post talking about the Nets are, paying attention. They're monitoring Kaysen Wallace's situation because it is believed by around the people around the league that Kaysen Wallace would be open to leaving Oklahoma City. And like, there's so many caveats in that sentence alone that like I hate even drawing attention to it.
And I think it's a situation where like. It's a situation where people who know, as far as like people who are able to like listen to things and kind of like make, assumptions, are the talking heads that are writing this. Because basically what this boils down to is two things. Number one, during exit interviews, Kaysen was just kind of like joking around and saying like he really enjoyed the time where he had the ball in his hand whenever like Shea was injured and Dub was injured and AJ was out. And so he was the only one that basically had the chops to kind of be the ball handler on the team. And he kind of enjoyed that. And he had a couple good games, and he kind of joked around and said that he watches those from time to time, like, in his own free time. And so kind of like taking that, extrapolating from that, saying that he wants to like, has more opportunities. And then taking the fact that Brooklyn, any team with like cap space are going to be, any team that is rebuilding is going to be the type of team that would really like that kind of player. Yeah, no duh. It's the same thing whenever the Thunder were coming up, whenever they were rebuilding, and every summer we were linked to like, the Thunder could make a run at this player, the Thunder could make a run at that player. And so if you put those two things together, then you can really come up with an article that says, hey, Kaysen Wallace is believed to want to, have a bigger role, and the Nets are believed to have interest in a player like that. And so, boom, you have yourself an article that gets clicks, that gets, clickbait, and it goes on from there.
Yeah, it's just very irresponsible reporting. But, my thing is that I do believe that Kaysen both wants and also deserves a bigger role. We talk about, Lou Dort coming back on the team option, and we have David DeThunders 97 asking, do you think if Lou Dort does come back, will he come off the bench so Queso can start? And that's been my biggest dilemma with Kaysen and Dort. Obviously, like, just because Dort's back doesn't mean you have to start Dort, because like, you want to give Kaysen that role. You want to give him that opportunity. You want to let him, try to earn, that contract that everybody wants to give him. But, and I've made this point many times, Dort has, like, he had that 40% three-point shooting season a couple seasons ago. That was his best season of his career. Last season, he skidded. Like, offensively, he was not great. His shooting wasn't good. And I think defensively, the eye test says that he was not as good defensively on the eye test as well. But offensively, he's kind of so detrimental if he's not hitting just the wide open catch and shoot threes that Shea creates, that you almost have to play him alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just to have, the offensive engine, the offensive impact to offset his negative offensive impact. So if you have Lou Dort on this team, can you bring him off the bench? Yeah, you can bring him off the bench, but even if he's playing alongside AJ Mitchell, Jared McCain, Jalen Williams, it's going to bring the unit down offensively.
I think you neuter his ability if you bring him off the bench. Like his like the times when you would have him play and the times when you would need him the most would be against those starting level superstars, Luka Doncic, Anthony Edwards, those types of players where he can body them up, he can match their physicality. And so those are the types of players that you would have him play against. You wouldn't have him play against anybody's like bench unit type thing or be like, hey, go out there and sick that guy. Like, there's not a lot of players out there that are like six men that actually impact games that much where you would need a defensive bulldog like Lou Dort to kind of guard them. And so you kind of neuter his biggest strength, number one. And then number two, as far as an asset, you kind of depreciate your asset if you bring him off the bench. Like, again, he's not able to show his total strengths. And so bringing him off the bench kind of depreciates the asset that you have in front of you.
Yeah, and also, like, for a guy that's coming on team option, he doesn't have a long-term deal ahead of him. Like, he's still trying to make it in the NBA. I don't think he wants to come off the bench. I don't think that that's going to be good for his value. And actually, I think Dolan laid this out perfectly. I saw he tweeted this out a few days ago that it kind of feels like it's the Giddey situation, to where it's like, hey, Josh, like, we think you're good. We want to keep you, but we want this guy to start ahead of you. So, like, if you're cool with coming off the bench, we'll keep you. If not, we have a trade lined up for you right now. It kind of feels the same thing with Lou against Dort. Like, hey, Dort, you're awesome. We love you. We don't win a ring without you. But Casey Wallace lapped you last year. Like, we want to see him in the starting role. If you want to come off the bench, we'll have you back on the team option. If not, we'll send you anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, well, yeah, 100%. And I think it's even a more different situation, because I do think that Josh Giddey would have still had value as a ball handler off the bench. Mm-hmm. Whereas Lou Dort, I don't see the value of him coming off as a bench defender type thing.
Yeah, it's a very tenuous situation. But talking about Casey Wallace, so obviously, as we mentioned at the top of the podcast, like, that's what everybody's waiting on. Like, where's the case and extension news? I wanted to ask you, what is the deadline on him, on us extending him in comparison to him going to restricted free agency?
I believe it is. Honestly, believe it's the first game of the season.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what I Googled, but I wanted to double check because Google lies sometimes. So, yeah. So I mean, as we kind of laid out the options for Lou Dort, these are the options for Casey Wallace. One, you extend him. You extend him before the season starts. The extension doesn't go towards this year's second apron, right? It goes towards next year's.
Next year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, you're already in the second apron this year. You're already planning on being the second apron next year.
It doesn't affect anything this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, extend him. He's earned it. Give him the role. I think everybody would be happy at that point. Mm-hmm. The other option, just don't do anything. He's already exercised into his team option for his rookie contract. Tell him, like, hey, we're going to give you this role. We're going to give you the opportunity that you want, that you desire. Prove to us that you are worth this money that you're asking for, that, people are willing to give you, and we'll match any offer sheet that you get in the offseason if you play up to that level. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is trading him. Regular season wise, people were quick to throw this out. He was not great this regular season. He was actually pretty close to Lou against Dort in terms of like his production and his percentages. But the postseason is specifically what I'm weighing, because I think he stepped up in a tremendous way in the postseason in terms of he had more steals per game in the postseason after he led the league in total steals. He shot almost 50% from three on almost 5 attempts per game, and was just, his role grew as like Dort's role shrunk the deeper we got, and Casey's role grew the deeper we got. And
his role and responsibility grew, and he matched it.
And Game 7, man, like, I keep going back to Game 7, man. Like, Shea carried us there. Jared McCain, Jay Will, they showed up a quarter at a time. Casey Wallace from jump was not backing down. And in the fourth quarter, when Shea had run out of gas, he had given everything that he had. Casey Wallace was the reason we were still in that game.
Yeah. No, I mean, and here's the thing. You don't make decisions based off of one game, but you make decisions based off of the whole picture. And in the whole picture, we've seen Casey step up and either be defensively great, either turn games completely, him and Caruso on the defensive end, or we've seen him step up from time to time and hit big, huge threes. Like, I go back to like the first game of the season against the Rockets. Mm-hmm. Like, Casey Wallace hit some huge threes in that game. Like, some huge threes that were something like that you wouldn't see him do in previous years. Like, he was hitting them not from the corner, but from the what's that called? The wings.
Yeah.
He was hitting those wing threes.
Mm-hmm.
So those are developmental things that happen from one season to the next. He showed this season that there is a little bit of a, able to play make, able to handle the ball. And as far as what this team needs, like you really need somebody else that can handle the ball from time to time and things like that. And so if he continues to develop that aspect of his game, if he continues to develop the shot, he'll be a player that'll be worth $25 million easily. Luguentz Dort was making $18 million. And we know that Luguentz Dort's $18 million was based off of his defensive prowess, as far as being a point of attack defender. It's the same thing with Case and Wallace, but you get hopefully a little bit added more offensively. And so with that comes the extra amount of money, comes the $25 million instead of like $18 million. So he's going to get in the open market, he's going to get $25 to $30 million. Like, I don't know why people are scoffing at the idea of like a 5-year, $125 million contract, because that is what he's going to get in the open market. The market dictates what a player is worth. And so Case and Wallace is going to be demanding about that much. And so, hopefully, again, it's a situation where you sign the contract, you don't James Harden it. You sign the contract, and then a season or two later down the line, if it's not necessarily working out, or if the money's not working out on as far as like total team, then he becomes maybe the sacrificial lamb. But in that process, he's making $25 million. He goes to a team that maybe he wants to, and everybody's happy after that. Hopefully we've won a couple championships by that point. But yeah, man, like when you have a player like that, you have to go ahead and give him the money, give him the contract. If not, it becomes bad for the locker room. It becomes bad for chemistry on the team. And we haven't had that on this team. We haven't had that player that, the disease of more. And so we have not had that yet. And so, but as you draft good players, this happens.
Yeah. And, you was mentioning the 25, 30 million, 25 million specifically, like the 5-year 125. That's literally what Christian Brown makes. Dyson Daniels is 4 for 100. That's 25 million a year as well. Case Wallace is a better player than both of them. Like, let's just call it what it is. Like, he's shown up in bigger ways in postseason and also regular season. This past season, like, I think that he was better than both of them. Now, people have pointed out that their contract year, that Dyson Daniels and Christian Brown was better offensively, and I went back because I was curious. I was like, okay, let me do some research. Christian Brown, Dyson Daniels played on average about 8.5 minutes more than Case Wallace did, this past season, which was this contract year. Christian Brown also started 77 games for the Denver Nuggets. I think Dyson Daniels, let me pull it up. Dyson Daniels started 76 games for the Atlanta Hawks in his contract year. So Case Wallace doesn't have that same freedom, that role, that responsibility that Dyson Daniels, Christian Brown had whenever they earned that contract, because Lou Dort was on the team. Lou Dort, steps out of that, and Case steps in that role. I feel very confident that he is giving you at least the production that Christian Brown and Dyson Daniels was in those seasons.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. And I mean, here's the thing. He still started 50 something games this year, I think.
Yeah. But it was it was a different role though every time, because it was like Dort could be out, Shea would be out, Dub be out.
But I mean, I believe he still probably played around starter minutes, 25 plus.
26.6,
yeah, 26.6, and he probably started around 55 games. And so, like, he's been there, like you said, his role does change. Like those other players, like they knew, hey, they're point of attack defenders. As far as like Great Barrier Reef, what's his name?
Dyson
Daniels, and then Christian Braun, out there shooting guard right next to Jamal Murray, right next to Jokic. Like he knew what his role was 100% of the time out there. And so I think that speaks more to the ability of Case and Wallace to adapt. And so I think that's very important in the league. And if you give him a role to where like he is consistently playing this role, I think he'll just thrive in that. And so, yeah, that's where that money comes into play. That's where you say, hey, we're going to pay you. We know that if we give you a consistent role, you're going to perform. And so you go from there.
Yeah, TJ asked in the chat, and I've seen this kind of rebut as well, but why didn't Queso give us the ball handler magic we so desperately needed in the postseason? As Shea was getting doubled, AJ Mitchell, Jalen Williams down. What's your answer to that, Alex?
I don't think he is the ball handler that AJ Mitchell and Dub are. Like, I think regardless of it, like, you do want to have secondary and tertiary playmakers out there, but Cason Wallace is a secondary at best, tertiary probably most of the time type playmaker. And so, like, when you're playing a defense like San Antonio, they're going to pick that apart pretty easily. You know, we probably win that series if we have Dub and AJ out there. But when you start to, like, kind of get those pieces off the board and you have to bring up the Jared McCains and the Cason Wallaces, like, Jared McCain, for all of his intents and purposes, is not an amazing ball handler. He's a good enough ball handler. He can defend himself as a ball handler, but he's not the greatest. And so a lot of times, you know, whenever Jared McCain went out there on that against that defense, he would turn the ball over too. Like, we wanted him shooting. We didn't want him dribbling too much. And so it's the same thing with Cason. Again, but it's something that can be worked on and you can become better at. And so that's what we're hoping is happening, you know, during these off seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll also say that it kind of goes back on Mark as well, too, because it really felt like Caruso was taking the ball up more than Cason Wallace. You know, you talk about McCain. Felt like whenever Cason got the ball, he's kind of wide open at the three-point line because, you know, Shea has created that shot. So he didn't have as many opportunities set up for him. And that, again, that goes back to his versatility, his adaptability, as we mentioned. But all right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Kenrich Williams, Thunder Legends, and some of the other offseason moves made from people around the league as for from our sponsors. And Alex, we are back, man. We have not done this in a while. Fellas, everybody, we are sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook here at the Believe Podcast Network. Just want to point out, I've been on a little bit of a heater when it comes to World Cup bets, man. I've made more money in the World Cup than I did in NBA. And it is based off of Erling Haaland, Kylian Mbappe, and Lionel Messi. 2 days.
Go figure.
Yeah, I mean, 3 of the best soccer players in the world. I mean,
Exactly.
2 days, all 3 of those guys played on the same day. And 2 days, they cashed me out to do shots on target and goals scored. I will say that I am in the middle of a parlay that stretches all the way to Thursday. I had Mbappe to get 3 shots on target and an anytime goal score. He got 4 and 2. So, again, left a little bit of money on the table. But I need Harry Kane for England to get 2 or more shots on target and an anytime goal score. And then Captain America, I need Christian Pulisic to go out there guns blazing like he did in the last game. 2 or more shots on goal and then a score or assist because he was diming them up against Paraguay before he got hurt. And then finally, I need Cristiano Ronaldo to just get 2 shots on target. You don't even have got to score because he's been kind of weird this World Cup. He's been a little bit wishy-washy.
His team has been weird with him too.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can make a parlay on the World Cup. You can make a bet on the World Cup. You can bet on MLB, and you can bet NBA futures. Right now, they have specials for, you know, how many wins the Miami Heat or the Minnesota Timberwolves get on there as well. Let me actually pull that up, Alex. You know, I mean, we are NBA fans here, so I mean, we might as well talk a little bit of NBA. Let's see here, and of course, okay, so. It has like 50, 60, 55, 40, 45. Okay, so let's be optimistic. Let's go to 60. Alex, what do you think the odds are for Minnesota Timberwolves to get 60 regular season wins next year?
I would say plus 2,500.
2,500. Oh gosh, that's like, oh yeah, no, it's less than that. It's plus 880.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So does that mean that they think there's a possibility?
They think it's more likely than 2,500.
Okay.
Yeah, 2,500 would be like long shot. Let me see. So, I mean, 55 they have plus 310, and 50 they have plus 116. So, you know, as the wins total goes down, the odds also go, you know, closer to even. Okay. So in the same vein, 60 wins, Miami Heat. I'll just tell you, it's more.
I'm gonna say plus 950.
It's plus 1,200.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
in the East?
dude, look at the Heat's roster right now. Like,
Yeah,
I know who did they just sign? They signed Tim Hardaway Jr., right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, they're starting to fill that out a little bit, but like they're missing a lot. They're missing a lot of creation. They're missing a lot of depth, and they should be able to fill that out. But the star power of Giannis and Bam aren't getting it done.
Aren't enough. Yeah.
Against the Pacers are going to be back, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Pistons, the Hawks, the Cavs. Like there's going to be a lot of good teams in the Eastern Conference this year.
Detroit.
I said Pistons.
Oh, the Pistons. Yeah.
I didn't say Sixers though. Sixers are also going to be there. They just signed Dean Wade, so look out. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, you can bet on all that and more on FanDuel Sportsbook. Go make a parlay today, and it's going to be a good time. World Cup's been a lot of fun. So, Alex, let's get back into the podcast. Thunder Legend edition. All right. I got to bring it up.
You know the voice. You hear the voice every podcast.
Let me find it. Where's it at? Here it is. All right. So yesterday, shockwaves went through Jang Gang Nation because Ousmane Dieng was not registered.
I thought we were going to talk about Kenrich Williams.
Oh, yeah, we are going to do that, but I'm sorry. I already teed it up. Ousmane Dieng was not registered a qualifying offer. People freaked out. Today, he signed a deal. What was it? 3 for $18 million, I think.
18 million.
Yeah. Jang Gang never dies, baby. I thought it was weird because, the Bucks are obviously like in like a rebuilding spot. Ooze did well for them, after the trade deadline last year. Thought it was weird they wasn't going to bring him back, but no, they're just bringing him back long term.
Well, I mean, it was so he just finished his 4th year. Mm-hmm. So after the fourth year, you have to, I believe it's rescind his rights, and then you can sign him like as a free agent or whatever.
Gotcha.
And so because you either do that or you bet on yourself. You do that whole like 1 year tender, and you're going to become an unrestricted free agent after that, anyways. And so and I mean, hey. $6 million per year is low in the NBA now, but I mean, if you're betting on yourself and you're on a team that is, I believe, rebuilding, maybe rebuilding.
Pseudo,
yeah, exactly. Then this is a great opportunity for him. He's 4 years into the league. That means he has 4 years of experience. He's gotten better progressively every year, and so giving him this shot, giving him this opportunity, I think I think he's going to do great with it. So I'm happy for him, and I'm happy he's still in the league, and I'm happy that he got that next contract and 3 more years of Jang Gang.
Jang Gang, baby, we love it. And also Thunder legend Brandon Carlson signed with the Portland Trailblazers. Yeah, he's he'll be like the 3rd big there.
Yeah, it's Robert Williams and Donovan Clingan, and and so, but I mean, at least. Basically the same role that he played for us, but at least he's got a standard NBA contract. I think for 1 year, what was it? 1 year, $3.25 million, 2.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, man, he gets in the books as an NBA player now officially, and good for him, man. It's been a journey, as far as like toiling in the G League with the Raptors, and then two-waying with us, and in our G League system, in our developmental system, and man, it's a great thing, and he'll always be a champion. He'll always be an NBA champion with us.
Well,
so, happy for him.
He has a day named after him. I'm bummed that we won't see him in the summer league because with no Sorba, no Topic, the summer league was like lacking with obviously they got Sturzmar and Owe, but would have liked a little bit more pop as well. But shout out BC. I mean, he's a modern basketball player. Like he's a 7-footer, he can block shots, rim run, and can shoot threes. Like I'll never forget what did he hit, like 3 threes or something like that against the Cleveland Cavaliers whenever Chet couldn't play.
Something like that.
Yeah. So shout out BC, forever Thunder legend. But getting back to Kenrich Williams. Yeah. As Alex pointed out, he is the voice you hear before every podcast. He is the voice of Topic Thunder. We declined his team option. I think in the reporting, Shams said that, there is the possibility that we could still bring him back on a veteran minimum contract. If we do that, with Dort already, we're in the second apron, so I guess it's not really hurting anything on that regard. But here's a question I have, because also what came out is Brooks Barnhizer, the Thunder sent a qualifying offer for him for two-way contracts. And now we have Brooks Barnhizer, Josh Dix, I think that's his name, right? Josh Dix?
Yeah.
Josh Dix and Peyton Sanford. We just drafted Oteka Owe at pick 41. Those two ways are taken up. I guess you could release Peyton Sanford or Josh Dix and give away that contract, but right now we don't have any roster spots to bring Kenny back.
We do.
We do?
Well, we have one. We're at 14 players. Oh wait, the thing about two-way players, number one, is you can easily cut bait.
Mm-hmm.
So if Josh Dix doesn't show anything during summer league, you can easily cut bait on him, and sign
or Brooks or Sanford
or Brooks or Sanford. I think Sanford probably has more of a possibility to kind of stay on because of his
big shooter.
Yeah, big shooter. I don't know what Brooks Barnhizer has improved on this offseason. It could be a possibility that he comes in and, shoots a nice 35%, from deep, has a quicker release, has more confidence on the offensive end. But this tender that they gave him allows them to sign him again to a second year of a two-way contract. And allows them to continue kind of, developing with the Thunder before they have to make a decision next offseason whether to keep him or not. When it comes to Kenrich, again, they did decline his $7.8 million option, but that doesn't mean that his time in Oklahoma City could be over. It could be a situation where, they wait till all the dust settles when it comes to Lou Dort, and they wait to see, how much, if they pick up a player in a trade with Lou Dort, that affects, what they can pay him. But if they don't, then they have they're 8, so about 10 million probably under the cap, and so or under the second apron, and so they can give Kenrich a, like you said, a veteran minimum contract and just bring him back. Just kind of depends, man. Maybe Kenrich tests the market, and there's a team out there that's a contender that wants that veteran presence, and they pay him, they give him a 3-year, $15 million contract. Hey, go get yours, man. You're forever. Here's the thing. I love all these guys that won a championship with us. But these are the realities of the NBA, and, teams are going to shuffle those last 6 or 7 spots on every team all the time. And so go out there and get your thing, man. You got that championship. You got that ring. Go out there and play for the Lakers. Go out there and play for whoever wants to pay for that veteran presence on their, in their locker room and things like that. I would not be mad at that. It would make me sad. We'd have to change, the person that speaks at the beginning of our podcast, probably media day this year. But still, man, he's deserved it. All those guys have deserved a shot to make more money. And unfortunately, we aren't in a position to where we can give them that money. And so if it's another team, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the thing about Kenrich Williams is he's great, for the locker room presence. He's great for the culture. And when his numbers call, he produces. He's not just a sieve out there on the court, offensively or defensively. He rebounds, he competes, he brings you toughness. He can shoot a little bit, defend a little bit. He's a solid player. So yeah, shout out Kenny Hustle forever. We love you. Hope you're able to make your way back on the team. Yeah. But Alex, want to transition to talking about the rest of the league as we hit an hour. As I said, famous last words earlier. Is there any moves that have happened so far that not worry you, but kind of raise your eyebrow as a Thunder fan?
The Rui Hachimura rumor to San Antonio.
Don't love that.
Don't love that at all. As far as Rui and being a knockdown, dead-eye shooter, that's the one thing about Denver that you always worried about. And we luckily caught Denver 2 years ago whenever Michael Porter Jr. was injured and had the shoulder injury and had looked like a mummy's tape job done on his shoulder for that 7-game series. But as the one thing outside of Jokic that you're really worried about when it comes to Denver was Jokic and Murray. Yeah, they can get theirs, but they also know that they have a release valve in Porter Jr. that can hit, threes on in. Fast forward that to the San Antonio, that there are going to be games where like the Castles, the Harpers, the Sells of the world aren't hitting as many threes. But if you have somebody that has consistently shot around 45 to 50% in the playoffs, dead eye, it worries you, especially if you're probably putting so much attention to Wemby, heading into the second season, probably putting so much attention to Harper, automatic paint touch. And so like having a guy like Rui out there, it affects your defense because he's not as good of a defensive player, but it probably enhances your offense. And so that is a little bit worrying as far as, from a Thunder perspective. Looking at Toronto, man, the one thing I'm worried about is our number one defensive thing, might be in jeopardy. Toronto having all those big wings and then getting Kawhi in there. And, Toronto could make some noise in the East pretty quickly as far as getting Kawhi and not necessarily giving up too much. They gave up Ingram and Grady Dick and then a whole host of picks. So, but as far as like worrying me, like, nobody.
The LaMelo Ball to the Timberwolves doesn't worry you?
Not at all, man. Not at all. Like, to me, they got weaker. And I know that's weird as far as like, but here's the thing. Offensive backcourts are a lot easier to guard than an offense that is balanced. And so right now they have Rudy Gobert, they have Jaden McDaniels. They have an injured DiVincenzo. Has Io signed with them? Re-signed with them? I'm pretty sure it's in the plans.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's in the plans at least. But you have Io DeSumo, but then like a lot of your depth probably goes down from there. You have Jalen Clark. I'm pretty sure they're going to be depending on like Bear and Jay to play big minutes as far as like a backup big.
5-year 112.
5-year 112. So yeah, like they don't worry me that much. Anthony Edwards is always going to make noise, and so having somebody else that can maybe shoot and hit threes and be a spacer, it's always going to be a worry. But I think that defensive like grit and grind of that team kind of went out the window, and so I do think they got worse.
Yeah, I do think defensively, like LaMelo is going to get picked on. Yes. But everybody points out the playmaking leap that LaMelo has made and what he's going to do for the Timberwolves. Well, that all sounds great, but like Anthony Edwards is not an off-ball player. Anthony Edwards gets his on the ball. So I don't know. I think the fit's a little bit clunky, and LaMelo is not an off-ball player either. Like these are two guys that need the ball in their hands, and I think that's kind of an issue with like a lot of teams. Like there's value in having multiple ball handlers, but in order to see like that really succeed, they have to be able to play off-ball as well. Like you have Shea, you have Jalen Williams, you have AJ Mitchell. They're all great with the ball in their hands, but they're also good off-ball. Off movement cuts. Being a guard screener, spotting up, like, they're able to, get theirs without having the ball in their hands. Anthony Edwards, we haven't seen that as much because he's kind of had free reign to do whatever he wants ever since he's been in Minnesota. So it will be fun to, kind of see what happens. I kind of want to ask you, this is a little bit of game I have. So, there's obviously some movement in the West. I'm going to give you two options, and I want you to pick, between the two. So just a little bit of this or that action. So, let me see here. Okay, so the Lakers with cap space or the Rockets adding Fred VanVleet healthy?
Man, just give me the pool of the Lakers with cap space.
Okay.
Because here's the thing with Houston is you don't forget what Kevin Durant did.
Yeah.
So that team still has internal issues that they haven't resolved probably, and that, I mean, hell, we headed into this offseason wondering whether Kevin Durant was going to get traded from that team. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's there's still a lot of issues with that team, just like on the court as well. Like with the fit's very clunky. So I'll be interested to see that. All right, Timberwolves with the LaMelo deal, or the Nuggets with the proposed Jaylen Brown for Jamal Murray swap.
The Nuggets.
Okay, let's see here. New look Trailblazers, new look Jazz.
New look Jazz.
I'm with you there.
Yeah, like you talk about clunky, and here's the thing: they may be setting something up, but you don't have that many point guards that need the ball in their hand. Probably Jrue Holiday is probably the only one that doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hand, but Dame, Scoot, Ja, they all need the ball in their hand to be effective. And so, what's going on there? We have no idea. But they do have the pieces in place to possibly make like a Jaylen Brown move. But yeah, we'll see.
So like if it was, even if you get Jaylen Brown, it's still weird. Dame and Ja, maybe like Dame's another guy that he's a theoretically great off-ball player because he's such a good three-point shooter, but he's also a guy that's kind of just had the ball in his hands his entire career. And we know Ja Morant is not only incapable of playing off ball, he's not a modern NBA player. He relies on rim pressure and playmaking, and that's great. He can't shoot. He can't defend. He has bad attitude. He has off-court issues. It's very weird. And Danny also.
Ja Morant is what everybody says Russell Westbrook was.
Honestly, and also Denny Avdia, part of his leap this year was what he was able to do on the ball. So again, it's an interesting conundrum for the Blazers. I think that if they were able to get Jaylen Brown, obviously Ja, Dame, Jaylen Brown, Denny, and Klingon, and you still have Kamara too. At that point, you can bring Ja off the bench, and then it makes much more sense, or Dame off the bench at that point.
It's just weird because you saw the evolution of Avdia. You saw what kind of player he can be. You saw an offensive engine that draws fouls, that drives to the basket. What do you need around that player? You need shooters around that player. And so for the most part, outside of Dame, Ja's not a shooter. Scoot hasn't, proven to be a shooter. Jrue Holiday, his best days are behind him. And so you even got a center in Klingon that, he's stepping out and shooting threes all the time. And so what are you doing? Portland has this opportunity to and not only do they have this opportunity, they have Avdia at a stupid salary at 11, 12 million. And it's this is when you should be taking advantage of that. And they're not.
Yeah. It's very weird fit. But yeah, I also just kind of love what the Jazz have done. Obviously Larry Jaren Jackson. And if they're able to bring back Walker Kessler, awesome. If not, then I don't think it hurts you that much, honestly. I think that almost makes it easier to start Ace Bailey alongside Darren Peterson, Keontae George. You get a little bit smaller, sure, but that's Keontae George, Darren Peterson, Ace Bailey, Larry Markin, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is a nasty lineup.
That is a nasty starting lineup. You have everything in that lineup. You have 3-point shooting. You have,
rebounding,
handle the ball, rebounding. Yeah, that's going to be nasty right there.
Yeah. All right. Keeping up with the game here. LeBron on the Warriors. Kyrie healthy on the Mavs.
I would still go probably LeBron on the Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still going to go there because I still think the Mavs have a lot outside of Flag and Kyrie. I still think they have a lot to kind of figure out with that team.
Okay. Kings with sign and trade Jalen Duren or the Los Angeles Clippers.
I love what the Clippers are doing. I'm sorry. I love what the Clippers are doing, man. They have a direction. They're getting their assets back. It's going to probably be ugly this year, possibly, but Tyronn Lue knows how to coach. And Tyronn Lue has made chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what. in years past. And so, like, you bring in, all these players from Toronto, you bring in, Darius Garland, Keaton Wagler, you bring in all those players together, and I think a coach like Tyronn Lue can find something to do with that team to make them at least competitive. Not necessarily, top of the league, but definitely not going to be bottom of the league either.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't love the BI. Like I
don't
think
either.
People are like, oh, at least we got Brandon Ingram. I'm like, I don't think you realize how big of a step down BI is from Kawhi Leonard.
I mean, BI is, you have to have a certain team around him. And I mean, I don't think LA does, but I also don't think that LA is looking at BI like, hey, come save us. I think he's a asset that they can probably flip, later on.
I do think that Grady Dick will do better there than he did in Toronto, just because he's playing with more natural playmakers and Darius Garland, Keaton Wagler, as opposed to, the Raptors, who still don't really have like natural playmakers on their team. Yeah. So, that's kind of the this or that I had. Oh, I did have a funny question, like with LeBron going to the Warriors, and everybody was putting out like, when they were talking about trading for Anthony Davis, but that's dead now. But everybody's putting out like, who's beating this team?
What's dead?
The Anthony Davis trade. I think Mark Stein said that Davis is just staying put.
Okay.
They're not going to do the trade now. So, but yeah, I was going to ask you, because I put this out there, kind of a hot take. Like, I kind of believe in it, but also like I could see them getting in. Everybody's putting out the Steph Curry, Draymond Green, LeBron, Anthony Davis picture. Like, who beats this team? And I was like, I legitimately don't know if they make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk through that, because I mean, Thunder Spurs, easy. Like, forget about it. You're not touching them, right? Healthy Nuggets team. Yeah. I still like them over them. Lakers with LeBron gone, and again, we talk about Lakers having cap space. We didn't mention, they're talking the Walker Kessler, obviously. Jalen Duren signing trade's been in, a possibility. Peyton Watson, I think they were supposed to meet with Peyton Watson as well. There's some directions for them to get better, so I think the Lakers could be better than them. Rockets with Fred VanVleet. I put them on there. I think I'm going to take them off. I think you made a really good point. They still have a lot of things to figure out on and off the court. New Look Timberwolves. You taking New Look Timberwolves over that version of the Warriors?
I am. I mean, the elephant in the room is health. Like,
yeah,
age and health, and depth on that team. Like, and I don't know what kind of deal they're signing LeBron to. I believe it's probably going to be mid-level.
Yeah, I think they talked about mid-level.
Yeah, $15 million a year. So, and then Draymond went ahead and declined his option because he can sign for a lower amount. Blah 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 blah. But I still think, I don't necessarily hear any of the token cast of characters that usually sign with teams. With the veteran presence player that signs with the championship contending older team. I don't hear about those players, and so like your depth is going to suffer. Yeah, man, that's and Porzingis re-signed with them, right?
Yeah, he did. But I mean, that's not a given either.
That's not a given either, because he's out here, having virus issues all the time. So people are wondering whether he has AIDS. So
yeah. So all right, so let's finish the point. We're at 5 teams right now, okay? Yeah. And that's without the Rockets. Blazers. New Look Blazers.
No, I think the Blazers are going to climb a little bit.
Okay, yeah, that's what I got. Utah Jazz, New Look Jazz.
This is where it starts to get interesting. No, I have the Jazz above them.
Yep, that's where I'm at. We're at 7 right now. Okay,
yeah,
this is your last chance.
Hello, play-in.
I'm gonna keep bringing up. Players or teams here. So, the Suns, whatever they are doing.
Oh, I love what they're doing. I love what they like. Yeah. I dislike Miles Bridges. I mean, anybody that lays hands on a female is dead to me. But I really like what they're doing. That they've kept their players that made the run last season, and they've introduced players that, for the most part, as far as basketball wise, are going to make them better. And so they got Miles Bridges. They signed somebody. Was it Luke Kennard? I think they signed.
Yes, that's
which I mean, on the fringe, they lost Grayson Allen, but on the fringe, Luke Kennard kind of replaces him, a lot cheaper, maybe not as good defensively, but of course, as far as offensively, kind of do the same thing. So I do really like what they did. They re-signed Mark Williams to a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have a lot of good deals, number one. And then number two, a lot of those deals are excellent as far as like being able to be moved, once December 10th hits, and they can get better, pretty quickly. So I'm going to pick them above the Warriors.
We're at 8 right now. All right. Dallas Mavericks, Kyrie Irving back, Cooper Flack and co.
That's where I put the Warriors.
Okay. Hold on. Hey, there's more teams. Pelicans, if they're not able to trade Trey Murphy.
Warriors.
Okay. Clippers, I think we can just move on from. Yeah, I guess that would be it. They would be at the bottom of the play-in, and they could still miss the playoffs at that point. So I don't think that was crazy to say it.
I don't think so either. And again, like the things that are going to be going against them are age, health, and LeBron unloaded the clip last year, played 40+ minutes, per game, and led his team to the second round of the playoffs. Great, awesome. He's still 41, 42 years old heading into this season. And so, him, Curry, has kind of like gotten injured and been injured in the last couple of end of seasons. Draymond is great defensively still, but still a shell of himself. And then from that point, who else is on that team? You have Moody, that's probably going to be out for the entire season.
Pods.
Yeah, Pods. You got Guy Santos and, Quentin Post. And, yeah, it's going to be rough if any of those guys sit out for any extended amount of time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to find the picture, but somebody did the whole genuinely who stops this, and it was those guys like I was talking about. Somebody quote tweeted it and just zoomed in on their knees.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true.
I lost my mind, but
let's flip it.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron says that he wants to go to a situation where he could contend or compete for a championship. If he uses his brain correctly and he knows that Golden State is probably not going to be competing for a championship, like, would you like him on the Thunder?
I would love him.
Yeah, I would love him on the Thunder. Let's say
that's the minimum.
Yeah, but let's say a little bit more than that. Let's say, $8 million a year. Or here's another question. Would you stay in the second apron for him?
I absolutely. I think that LeBron, I think we're already a title favorite, but like I think LeBron pushes you over the edge. Like he was taking it to us last year.
Yeah,
like in the playoffs. He was
the only guy. Yeah, he was the only guy on that Lakers team. Him and Hachimura.
Mm-hmm. And I think last year was the first year that we really started to see injuries kind of take toll on LeBron James. The age finally, take hits. Like Alex Caruso, this is the perfect team to insulate him from that. Like we can let you play just enough to like be in rhythm going into the playoffs. We don't need you in the regular season. We got plenty of guys for that. We need you in the playoffs. We need you for 16 wins. And, you talk about, winning another ring, ring chasing, whatever. Teaming up with Shea would be really cool to see as well. And filling in that wing spot. Finally, we get somebody in that 6'8", 6'9" area, and also just basketball IQ, high feel for the game. All the comments that he's had about Mark Daigneault, Sam Presti over the years, how the Thunder are being built, the culture that they have. You finally see all that come to fruition with LeBron coming here. And sorry, we do not have an extra roster spot for Bronny James.
Yeah, we don't. Once we get rid of Lou. That'll be 2 roster spots that we have available. I'm just saying.
Alex, come on, man.
Just saying.
It was really funny that LeBron waited for Bronny's contract to be guaranteed before he told the Lakers he wasn't coming back.
That was such a dad move right there. Such a dad.
That was so funny. But yeah, no, I see a lot of people very angry about it. It will never happen, but yeah, it would be really funny.
But you'd be stupid if for like a vet minimum type thing, or even like, let's say $10 million a year. Like it would be stupid for us to say no, because number one, any money that you lose tax wise or second apron wise, you could recoup that so easily.
Oh, yeah.
If LeBron's on the team.
Tickets, brother.
So easily. Like every game would be televised. Every game would sell out regardless of where you go, whether it's here or on the road. Like all those games would be sold out. Like, yeah, it would be a Beatles type thing, like, you know, the Beatles concert type thing. So yeah.
Bye doubling Shea. That's all I gotta say.
Exactly. Yeah.
That ain't happening. But yeah, like I think that if LeBron came to you and said that he wants to come to your team, I think that you know, especially in this situation, you make it happen. Like, I think he'd be great on the Spurs too. I don't want him to go to the Spurs, but I think he'd be great for the Spurs too. Could that be a sign and trade thing with Dort? Like, could you do both of them sign contracts and trade each other?
No.
Okay.
No, because I think the Lakers already rescinded, you know, anything. So he's an unrestricted free agent.
Okay. Gotcha. That works then. Well,
like I think if you're still on the books, as far as like your cap hold is still on there, then you can do like the sign and trade.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if that player rescinds that, or that team rescinds that and says, hey, we don't want this on our cap hold anymore, we're going to go ahead and let that player go completely, then they become an unrestricted free agent. You can't do sign and trades.
No, that's fair. Well, let me ask you this. We'll end with this. What is your prediction for where LeBron goes?
Golden State.
Yeah. If he didn't go to Golden State, do you think he'd be better off going with Miami, with, you know, just the pool of LeBron and Giannis? Cleveland, yeah. I just
Cleveland.
don't think he wants to go back to Cleveland.
I don't think so. I don't think going back to Cleveland, or us thinking that he doesn't want to go back to Cleveland would be the same reason why he doesn't want to go to Oklahoma City. Like, he wants to go to a coast. He wants to go to LA, he wants to go to Miami, and those are the two options right there. And so
I'll go as far to say I don't think he wants to leave California.
Exactly, California. I mean,
yeah. I just think he wants to, set roots, stay put there. So I expect him to go to the Warriors as well. And I mean, as cool as it'll be to see him play with Steph Curry, they're not gonna do nothing.
They're not. Unfortunately, they're not. Like, I mean, 5 years ago would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Now, no.
Yeah, I think Cone tweeted out something about, like, you know, Steph, LeBron, AD, and Draymond all playing together is like low-key crazy. And I said, yeah, me 9 years ago shaking. So,
yeah.
But yeah, with that being said, Alex, I think I think we covered everything, man. We covered so much. So appreciate everybody tapping in. You know, I tried to get to everybody in the chat. Oh, we did have Bowler Jacks. He said, what's good, Holmes? He said, weirdest free agent signing so far this offseason, one in the West, one East. You have one real quick before we get off here? I feel like I left out Bowler Jack of all the people in the chat.
I think the trades are more weirder than the signings.
Yeah. You know, the John Morant trade. Yeah.
What the hell?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll just keep it at that. The trades have been weird, and John Morant is probably the weirdest. And then, you know, LaMelo Ball going to Minnesota. Probably the weird thing about that whole thing, I think, and I think I put a tweet out about this, was it amazes me that out of the four big men on that team, when you talk about, you know, Julius Randle, you talk about Cat, you talk about Nas, and you talk about Gobert, one that has survived the entire time has been Gobert. Like, to me, that is wild as hell.
It shows you how important he is to their defense.
I guess, yeah.
I will say my weird thing for the East is the whole Jalen Duren saga, everything that's happening with that.
Yeah.
You know, I get he had a good regular season, but as bad as many people wanted to just pile on Chet Holmgren for what he did against the San Antonio Spurs, Jalen Duren averaged less points in the entire postseason than Chet did in the Spurs series. So just put that into context a little bit.
And I mean, the thing about Duren is that, again, the NBA loves spacing. And Duren provides absolutely zero spacing. Like, he may provide vertical spacing.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you know, defenses are going to key in on that, and he wasn't able to do that at all. Now, with that said, if Detroit gets another ball handler, if they get more shooting around, that could be different. But yeah, man, that was a bad showing.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you're Giannis and you're just like, it's like a rim pressure type of thing, or even like Bam back in the day, like, he didn't always have this 3-point shooting in his back. He was just an elite defender. Jalen Duren's not even like an elite defender. Like, he's solid, he's big, He takes
He's
up
just
space.
athletic.
Yeah, he's a good athlete, but he's not a great defender. He doesn't space the floor. Yeah, he's kind of one-dimensional. So like, I would love to see there be like a three-team trade between like the Celtics, the Kings, and the Pistons, in which like the Kings get Jalen Duren, the Pistons get Jaylen Brown, and the Celtics get Sabonis and like a bunch of other assets type thing. I think that would be really fun for, kind of everybody. But yeah. Either way, I mean, there's still a lot to happen. Jaylen Brown's out there. We still don't know for sure whether Bond's growing. And, to your credit about the Thunder thing, he said that he told Rich Paul to find out every team that is interested in him. That way he can have, like, the best decision going into it. So Thunder are part of every team. Just got to say that.
They are. They're one of 30. So
that would be crazy. But with that being said, for the third time, appreciate everybody for tapping into the chat. Appreciate everybody for all your support during the offseason. Obviously it was sad, seeing the Thunder go out, but we hit the ball rolling, or hit the ground running. Hit the ground running with the draft coverage.
We hit a rolling ball also. So
we did. And, now we're going right into it with the offseason and Summer League. I'm very excited for Summer League. I'm working on a guest for Friday. I am off Friday, so we might be doing possibly a day pod. Working on a guest. I will let you guys know. I guess when you see we go live, and you can find that out by subscribing to our channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out when we go live, so you don't miss out on these special guests talking about the Thunder Summer League team. And also comment down below where you think LeBron's going to go. Would you take him on the Thunder? What do you think is going to happen with Lou Dort? Is Case Wall's getting extended? And yeah, I ran out of things to say. But with that being said, y'all have a great night. God bless, hoop when you can. And as always, Thunder up.
Thunder up.